Have you ever thought about how many video games have been released since video games were a thing? Like, it's the one thing that's usually on the top of my mind with the amount of video games that are coming out right now in today's climate and the amount of popular video games that are continuously bought over time. It just really boggles my mind, the amount of video games that people will buy. And I'm one of those type of people who will throw their money at video games because I have been loving playing video games for a very, very long time. I do remember starting my video gaming life back when I was a kid. And I remember my first recollection of playing video games was on an Atari console. And that was one of the first gaming consoles that was brought into the house. And I remember playing a fishing game on the Atari, which was a lot of fun. And I would play hours playing that, trying to catch fish. And I can't remember the name of the game, but I'm pretty sure it had a very basic title. I do also remember playing a fighting game. It was literally an 8-bit pixel art side-scrolly type fighting game, and I absolutely loved it. And it's one of those type of arcade games that will be a classic no matter what age you play it. And that was also when I first started playing fighting games because as I started getting older, I really, really enjoyed fighting games, especially since my relatives, a lot of my cousins here in Australia that were born and raised here, owned consoles, but most of the time the only multiplayer games they would usually have would be a fighting game. And fighting games were a lot of fun, but for me, I was always button mashing. Yes, the all-elusive button mashing on the controllers, because you don't know what button does what. Let's just try anything. Let's just, this button makes your character kick. Okay, awesome. What about this button? All right, this one does the punching. Okay, you sort of settle on the buttons that do the punching and the kicking, but then when it comes to doing combinations, that's when the button mashing really kicks in, pun intended. Just playing video games since I was a kid. I'd say after the Atari, the first other major console that was brought into the house was the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. That was my first introduction into the Nintendo world. And I would say I played, I think it's Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt because they came on the same cartridge. For hours on end, the amount of time I spent playing those two particular games was insane. And I remember the actual gun controller that came with the console so that you could play Duck Hunt. And let's just say, as a child, when you get frustrated not being able to shoot those ducks down, and the dog giggles at you, just, mumbles and just laughs at you profusely because you keep missing, you think of ways, you start getting creative on how to actually shoot those ducks down. So little old me decided I'm just going to walk up to the screen and just point at the duck wherever it is and shoot. And it'll work, and it usually does. And it's always a very amusing memory of mine that I would, because I'd get frustrated at the dog laughing at me, or just not being able to get my sights right. So whenever I aimed at the TV from a distance, usually I was actually pretty good. But there were times when it got, when the levels got harder and harder, it got a little bit more frustrating for me to actually try and shoot those ducks down. So that's when I decided, nope, I'm just going to go up to the screen. I'm just going to cheat my way through. But that's also a learning curve of, practice makes perfect. You also have to realize that it's not always about cheating, that, to have fun. Even if you do miss, or if you lose, or if you get to a certain level and you fail, you've always got the opportunity to try again. Which is a really, really good little educational tool for life, essentially. If you fail in something, you still have many more chances to try again. And so moving through the timeline of video games, I remember that the NES was the first and only Nintendo console that was brought into the house for a very long time. I don't remember my parents buying any other console after the NES. I never had the Super NES. I never had a GameCube or the Nintendo 64. So, I'd never owned any of the Nintendo handheld devices like the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color or the Advanced. So, but I do remember always going to a cousin's house, and they would always have the latest Nintendo console available. And those were the only chances or the opportunities that I had to be able to play the video games that I couldn't play because I never owned the console at home. And so that was always I always had an excuse for wanting to go with my parents. I actually had no choice, obviously. Whenever we do family visits, it's as a child, you're not allowed to be left alone. So I had no choice but to go along. But there were certain cousins that had certain consoles. So when I found out we were going to those particular families' houses, I was like, great. I have the opportunity to play on the GameCube or the 64. And usually it would always, like I said at the beginning, it's usually always a fighting game. They were generally the only multiplayer games that my cousins would let me play with them if they felt like playing. Also, they were older than me, so they had the power over what game can be played. So whatever game they were playing, I had no choice but to play, whether I liked it or not. I do remember playing Mario Kart with my cousins as well, and Mario Kart back then I hated so much. I hated it with a passion because I could never beat my cousins because they had the opportunity to practice because they own the console, and because I don't own the console, I never had the opportunity to practice. So I would always lose, or I would always come last. And so that's why I hated playing Mario Kart with my cousins. But that didn't mean that the Mario games were the only games that they played. I do also remember playing GoldenEye on I'm pretty sure it was the 64, and they would let me actually play it at that age in two-player mode where you go around and try to shoot each other down. And back then, I actually enjoyed the shooty games. I don't know why I don't like the shooters now. But back then, I'd say probably between the age of 8 and I'm going to say 12. So between that sort of 4-year age range, that's when I really enjoyed video gaming a lot. And I would always ask to go to my cousin's house if we could so that we can play video games all the time. So, and the only handheld device, like gaming devices I ever owned, and I'm not sure if any of you will remember, I'm pretty sure most of you will, were the, those all-in-one gaming devices that included Tetris and a few other sort of blocky games. That's the only handheld game, like Game Boy, I would say, that I ever owned. I never owned any of the other, like the Game Boys. That was never a thing for me. My parents were not about to spend, all that amount of money on a gaming console, whether it be handheld or, stationary that you can use on the TV. And for them, education was really important to them because my parents actually immigrated here to Australia. And so they wanted to make sure that with the hard-earned money that they were making from going to work almost every day of the week, they wanted to make sure that my sister and I were educated well and that we were putting in most of our time into studying. So I think around about high school, when I got to high school, that's sort of when my parents were starting to become a little bit more lenient when it came to the consoles. I remember the PlayStation 1 being released, and it was this giant bulky looking thing, like this giant grey block. And of course my cousins ended up getting, when the first edition sort of release of them. But for me, I didn't end up getting the PlayStation 1 when it first got released. I ended up getting a PS1 Slim. So it was this itty-bitty looking thing that looked like a toy, essentially. And it still played all of the PlayStation 1 games that I wanted to play. I remember playing a lot of Crash Bandicoot on it. I do also remember playing some racing games, I think it was, and some fighting games, but I can't remember 100% what they were. I'm pretty sure if I go and check the storage where I've got my PS1 with the games, I'll probably remember most of them. I do remember playing a tennis game, I think it was. I was really into the tennis games. And yeah, we, at the time, buying games was very expensive, so didn't end up buying a lot of games. This was like years ago, but back when putting chips into consoles were still a thing. My parents found out about this through a relative that from one of my cousins that had their console chipped. Or jailbroken, I suppose. They were like, great, if that's the case, then we can get cheap games for the kids and they won't complain. So my PS1 Slim ended up getting jailbroken and got a chip placed in it. So I was able to play all sorts of other games that were ripped onto onto other CDs, and that was the only way that I was able to play more and more games. And then I think the PS2 was also released after that, but we never got the PS2 at that time. I think around the PS2 time, the Wii was starting to become a thing with Nintendo. And as you can already tell, because the only other Nintendo console I had was the NES, the Wii was the next logical console, I suppose. Because my dad was always like, I learnt to play video games from my dad because my dad was the one who bought the Atari and he loved playing the Atari. So I ended up playing the Atari a lot. So from that, even though we never had any of the Nintendo consoles between the NES and the Wii, when we got the Wii, my dad was also playing on the Nintendo Wii, but I was playing it the most. the only reason why my parents were okay with it was because it was a console where it got you to get up and move depending on the game. And I absolutely loved the Wii Sports, and that was so much fun. And I am so excited for the Nintendo Switch Sports because that's going to be even more epic. I can't wait for that. It was so good. But yeah, and then because the PlayStation 2 was also a thing around that time, we didn't end up getting the major, big, giant black box of a PS2. So we ended up getting the slim version of that, so the smaller version of the PS2, and that's the one my sister wanted. So my sister wanted the PlayStation 2 because she wanted to play a few PlayStation games of her choosing. So I ended up with the PS1. She ended up with the PS2. Both of them were slim. So they were sort of like the miniature versions of the originals. and then I think what would have been the next console between the PS2 and the Wii? I'm probably remembering these incorrectly. I'm not remembering them chronologically. I'm just remembering them as they come to mind. I'm pretty sure it was the Wii U was the next big thing, and then it was the PS3, or it might have been around the same time. I can't remember exactly. And so, again, the Wii U, by that stage, I was, I think, out of high school, and I was actually earning my own money at that time. So I was actually working. And I decided that I wanted to trade in the Wii console to get the Wii U console. Now, my dad was not happy about that because he actually enjoyed playing the Wii. And I was like, look, it's backwards compatible, Dad. You can still play your Wii games on the Wii U. It's fine. And then he saw the tablet controller and he's like, but I don't want to use this controller. I want to use the old one. And I explained to him, well, look, here you can still use the Wii controller. We just had to get to the Wii U adapter to it so that it would actually work with the Wii U. And it still worked fine, and he was still okay with that because then he was able to sit in his chair and play his Wii. I think it was Wii Play was his favorite. So I really enjoyed Wii Sports. My dad enjoyed the Wii Play because he really liked all those little mini games that you could play just where you were sitting. And he didn't mind having the two controllers. You know, they had the Wii remote and then the nunchuck in the other hand, just going around and playing his games. And I found so many, like I don't have a giant collection of Wii or Wii U games, but I do have a select few. And I do remember playing a lot of Super Mario Wii, and then I ended up getting the Super Mario Wii U, I think it was, the Super Mario Bros. Wii, and then Wii U. Anyway, I'm remembering the titles incorrectly, but I'm sure you all know what I'm trying to say. And so I would still play that. I love the fact that you could play using the handheld controller without having the TV on. So that for me was a huge plus, and I suppose that's kind of where I really loved the idea of getting the Switch, because then you could take the Switch with you wherever you go and play it handheld mode. Whereas with the Wii U ones, the Wii U controller tablet thing, you had to be within the vicinity of the Wii U console. So whenever I felt like playing it, I would, and because it was set up in our formal living room, which is the one we rarely use nowadays, I would just sit on the couch in there with the TV off so I wasn't disturbing anyone, and just playing away on my Wii U tablet. And I have to say, the game that I played the most, I think is Yoshi's Woolly World, and that was my absolute favorite of all the games that were available on the Wii U. I really enjoy playing it. I haven't 100%ed it. I know, bad Fuji. But I still enjoyed playing it at the time. And I still have my Wii U, so I could potentially go back and finish it off if I really wanted to. And then I also remember when I got Yoshi's Woolly World, I also got the one where it came with the Yoshi amiibo, in the Yarn amiibo, and that was like the most adorable amiibo I have ever bought. And I got the blue one because, of course, I got the blue one because it's my favorite color. And I think around that time also ended up getting a PS3. But again, wasn't the big giant thing of a box that was the PS3 when it was costing 1,000 Australian dollars. Man, that price tag, when I saw it for the PS3, I was shook. Then I thought, well, I'm hoping they'll bring out a slim version for that too. And lo and behold, they did. And that's the version I have. I have a slim version of the PS3. And I really enjoyed playing a lot of PlayStation 3 games. I have to say the games that I played the most on the PS3 were definitely your Tekkens, your Mortal Kombats, Guitar Hero, Band Hero were definitely huge for me on the PS3. And I'm gonna say the Lego games were the ones that I would play the most out of all of the games. So apart from playing, my music on Guitar Hero, I went nuts with the Lego games, and I would go, and whenever a Lego game was released on PS3 in whatever theme it was, whether it was Star Wars, whether it was Harry Potter, or even Lord of the Rings or Batman, I would buy it. I'd say the only ones I didn't buy were the Jurassic Park ones because I never really watched any of the Jurassic Park movies, so I didn't think it was necessary, I guess, for me to buy the Lego Jurassic Park games. Because I wouldn't have understood many of the references that were in it. So I left that one behind. But I did go out of my way to buy all of the other Lego games that I could. Even Lord of the Rings when I hadn't watched the movies at the time. But I eventually did, maybe within the last 10 years. And yeah, so PS3 was definitely my favorite console of the time because I played it a lot. And then I think around that time as well, I had a friend that is a huge Xbox fan, and she convinced me to buy an Xbox 360. And that is the only Xbox console that I own right now. I got the Blue Edition, obvious reasons, and I only have like a small handful of games on the 360. I do remember buying Lego Dimensions on the Xbox 360, and that is probably the game that I played the most of because it forced me to collect as many of the Lego Dimension characters and the vehicles that came with it, the little play sets for them, which I absolutely love. So for those of you who don't know, Sean Capri is a big fan. He's a big fan of the Skylanders. Him and his wife are big Skylanders fans. I am a big Lego Dimensions fan. I never really got into the Skylanders as they were going through. I believe I still have the Skylanders starter kit for the Wii U that's still in its box that hasn't been opened or used. I'm not quite sure what that would be worth right now is still in that condition, because I haven't been able to. I've been trying to sell it and haven't been able to sell it. But I'm the Lego fan of those type of collectible, playable characters, and I really enjoyed the building aspect of buying them, because they would show you how to build the vehicles to be used on the little portal to bring into the game. And that was a lot of fun for me. So I ended up purchasing so many of the sets. Right now they are collecting dust on a cupcake stand that I decided to use as my Lego Dimensions display stand right now. So I haven't been playing Lego Dimensions for a very long time. But I also know that they are no longer available for purchase. So if there are certain levels in Lego Dimensions that I really want to go back and play, that I need characters for that I don't have, I'm not going to be able to buy them unless I go to eBay, and it's going to cost me a lot of money, and I don't want to do that. But I'm still glad that I managed to get most of the characters that I really, really love, that I can go back and play if I ever decide to do that. So that was kind of like my Xbox experience. I did also play a little bit of Viva Pinata. Got a little bit of experience from that, but I don't think it was one of the type of games that I was really interested in playing, only because it was one of those type of like management type games, and I just wasn't really into management type games back then. And I ended up playing, I was also recommended to play Fable 3. And I believe that was my first introduction to an open world RPG. Is Fable an RPG? I don't know. But it was the only Fable I played, and I played quite a bit of it, and I did enjoy it at the time. But I honestly haven't really touched my 360 in a very, very long time. But I don't want to get rid of it, because it's one of those special edition runs, because it's a special edition color, that I may end up turning around and being like, hey, why don't we play some 360 games one day? So I'm going to hold on to it just in case. But yeah, after that, I think I stopped playing console games for a while. And then I found out about the Switch. Now, at the time, because I wasn't always going out of my way to buy consoles at the day of release, I held off on buying the Switch. I think I didn't buy a Switch until maybe a year or two after it was released. And I think at the time I didn't really have the opportunity to just sit down and play games, because I was jumping between jobs and working a lot, and life was kind of in the way. So video games weren't really a thing for me during that period. But then I ended up getting my Switch, and I'm very happy about it. Now, I know that I've just gone on a whole rant about consoles and like the consoles that I have owned over the years. But if we sort of turn that around back to video games itself, video games have definitely been a part of my life. I have learnt a lot from playing video games. Different type of, like skills, including like puzzle solving and, hand-eye coordination and all that sort of stuff, depending on the game. And I've also learned a little bit about my play style and the type of games that I really enjoy. Now, obviously, as time progresses, your taste in video games do change. And I have to admit that even though back then I never used to like Mario Kart, I now absolutely love playing Mario Kart. I play it every week that I can with my Discord community, and we have a lot of fun playing Mario Kart every week. And the reason why I love it so much now is thanks to a really amazing streamer that I came across a year and a half ago by the name of Nintendo Guru, and he was a content creator and Twitch streamer who sadly passed away a year ago, roughly, at the time of recording. And he definitely was a big influence on my video gaming, especially during the pandemic. I think that's where I found him. That's where I found the community, and I didn't realize how important community was when it came to video games, and being able to play video games with people that aren't even in the same country as me was not something I ever thought would be possible. I have played video games with people online before, but I don't think I've ever played video games to the extent that I do now. And especially because now I have a lot more time on my hands to be able to do that. I really am grateful to the people that I have met through the video gaming community, online and in real life. I really enjoy playing video games because it has definitely given me an opportunity to make new friends. Because it's a little hard to make friends when you're in lockdown, and and it's also very difficult to be able to catch up with friends that you have at the moment when you're not allowed to see each other in person. So being able to do online sort of like online sessions to catch up with friends, video games have definitely helped in that sense. And I know that Animal Crossing was a huge part of this. Animal Crossing New Horizons came out just in the nick of time. And I'm so glad that I was able to pick up that game when it was released, because I don't think I would have met the people that I know now if it wasn't for that game. And I am so really grateful just to everybody that I have met through Animal Crossing, and then just expanded our gaming horizons from there. And it's been such a whirlwind. Like, honestly, if I was to say at the time when we were in lockdown, the first time round back in 2020, that in 2 years' time, I'd be sitting here talking about a community that I have become a part of because of one little game, I wouldn't have believed myself. I honestly wouldn't have believed myself 2 years ago if that was the case. But here I am today talking to you all on this amazing little podcast that I've got going on for you guys. And I really am thankful. Let's put it that way. I'm very thankful for video games. Because not only did it also bring communities together and just, for you to make friends and all that sort of stuff, but video games also help with boredom, obviously. It gives you something to do, and it is a lot of fun. And because there are so many variety of genres out there that you can play, they're like, your RPGs, your first-person shooters, your puzzlers, your strategies, your action-adventure games, your musical and sport games. It's insane the amount of video games that have been brought out and developed, and I am I am also thankful to all of those game developers, the artists out there who create these games, just everybody that is a part of making a video game. You guys are honestly the best and so talented. The amount of times I think to myself, yeah, I could probably sit down and make a video game. But then I look into some of the stuff that goes into video gaming. And for me, at uni, I studied Bachelor of Interactive Media, and that gave me a broad introduction into multimedia and the like, especially when it comes to user interface designs, graphic design, video production, audio production, music production. I got to learn all of that throughout my uni course. For those of you who are game developers, guys, you are the best. You are talented, and we are very, very thankful for your skills when it comes to video games. Just to round off the podcast, I would like to mention some of the games that are currently out right now, that have just been released at the time of recording. And right now, the big games that are being highly regarded are Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring. And if we're talking Nintendo, Pokemon Legends Arceus is definitely another one that is really up there in terms of new games that are taking the world by storm. And I will say, out of the 3 games, I am playing Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I am really enjoying it. I never grew up playing many of the Pokemon games. As I've said earlier, I never owned any of the handheld devices, so I didn't have the opportunity to experience any of the Pokemon games until more recently with the Nintendo Switch. But Pokemon Legends Arceus has been so much fun. It's been very refreshing, and it is very much a game that I can chill out to. That's another thing with video games. Video games can, be a source of relaxation, and you can sit there for hours and not realize time go by when you're playing games. Or you may have had a hard day or a tough day, and you just want to sit down and do nothing but play your games. And that's where video games have been so relaxing, especially if you're playing certain games that are very open world or that are simulation based, such as Animal Crossing. And then, you've got your building type survival games like Minecraft. Pokemon has been a really good way of relaxing as well, because you're just going out and catching Pokemon. And so many other games that I won't be able to name all here, but for whatever kind of game relaxes you, video games are there for that. Doesn't matter what the genre is. You want to take your frustrations out, play a fighter game. You want to just be a speed demon, play a racing game. You just want to relax and just build, play Minecraft. I know I've been playing Minecraft recently. I'm a big noob to the Minecraft world, and I am absolutely loving the creative mode of Minecraft, and I can't get enough of it. So if you like Animal Crossing, you'll like Minecraft. I didn't think that I'd be able to put those two together, and I was like, oh well, I don't like Minecraft. Minecraft doesn't look fun. Minecraft looks like a boys' game. It looks very kiddie, blah blah blah. And then I turn around, I'm like, no, this is a game for everyone. This is a good game. I like it. I like to just build things. So Minecraft, big hats off to you Minecraft developers. I didn't pick it up back in 2011 when it was released, but I am certainly playing it now 11 years later, so that's totally fine. But yeah, there's a lot of big games right now. I hope you are enjoying them. Have to admit, probably not going to be playing Elden Ring. I'm not a big Souls player, but I have seen people playing it. It looks amazing, but just not for me. And then Horizon Forbidden West. I haven't played Zero Dawn, so I have picked up a copy so that I can check it out and see how I feel about it before I go out and buy Forbidden West. But from what I've seen so far, Forbidden West looks absolutely beautiful in terms of its graphics and all of the scenery and all that sort of stuff. So I hope those of you who have got it are enjoying it so much. And of course, you know, Animal Crossing New Horizons is still going strong since 2020, especially with the 2.0 update that came through in November last year, and with the extension of an extra little playthrough of Happy Home Paradise, which has been a godsend. I am loving that side of Animal Crossing because it just gives me the chance to just design things. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to sort of talk about in terms of video games. I will always have some form of thought on video games. And I'm still wondering how many video games there have been since video games were a thing. So we've just come around a full circle now. But that doesn't mean that I can't Google it. You can probably do it yourself. That's totally fine. Or you can just let me know if you already know the answer. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Many Thoughts I Have. If you have any suggestions of any kind of topics you'd like me to think about and talk about, please feel free to let me know. You can obviously contact me through any of the social medias, and just to let me know what topics you'd like to hear from me. I'd really appreciate if you could leave a review. Whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, let me know through that if you'd like for me to speak about a particular topic, as long as it's something I can talk about and it is appropriate. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you can watch me stream live at twitch.tv/foolishfuji. I also have videos available to watch over at youtube.com/foolishfuji. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'll have those links in the show notes for you so you can click away. And yeah, that's it. Remember to look after yourself and your mental health, and I'll chat with you next time.